murder, arson, rape, and torture, and at peace with themselves, as though they had committed a fraternity prank. Genocide is the paramount example. Genocide is still difficult to eradicate because usually tolerated by those who benefit from it. Authoritarian parties that wield great power yet are insecure in their rule. Victims are believed to have brought their suffering upon themselves and thus to deserve what they get. The Nazi genocide probably would not have been possible without the active or tacit cooperation of many collaborators who did not consider themselves Nazis yet nonetheless cooperated in mass murder. The Nazis succeeded in genocide, though offering bystanders money, property, status, and other reward for the active or tacit complicity in the crime. And the alternative is to reject masculine underpinnings of the one see and engage in a critical examination of how we do our interactions with others, create hidden assumptions about what good debate is, and exclude women from intellectual opportunities that training and debate provides. We can no longer afford to engage in complacency while making loses validity and increases the right violations that so frequently indicts. That's Bjork in 92. Women debaters are marginalized and rendered voiceless in such a discourse community. I'm tired of hearing comments about like those girls from school X that aren't really interested in debate. They just want to meet men. Women who gave up because they were tired of negotiating minefield, discrimination, sexual harassment, and isolation. They found the debate community is numbers in the community. We have a great freedom to define it in whatever way we see that. I'm calling for a critical examination of how we as individual members of the community characterize our activities, ourselves, and our interactions with others through language. We must become aware of the ways in which are mostly hidden and unspoken assumptions about what good debate is, function to exclude not only women but ethnic minorities from amazing intellectual opportunities that training and debate provides. Is not acceptable for us to roll on, assuming that things will straighten themselves out. Complacency breeds resentment and frustration. We can change our own community. If we fail to do so, we give up the only real power that we have. And on to case. The affirmative calls for us to envision. The act conceptualizes the act conceptualizes us to look at a neutral act that constitutes the self that fails to analyze how we look, actually creates a disabled body, and how we are not all able to look back on this normalized sense that Davidson innate. Social relations are created out of the act of staring, looking, and gazing at the offer. The able-bodied viewer, a form of guilty pleasure. Philosophers like Sartre and Levinas have formulated an intersubjectivity and a constituting look. They do not address the politics of embodiment, articulated throughout the look, the face of the other, exposing contingency and vulnerability. The one looking neither images that are encountered others blind. These regimes reinforce staring as a visual practice that materializes as disabled in social relations, and disqualification of individuals integral to ableism operates under all other forms of oppression. As we continue to commit other instances of oppression, ableism remains in full force. Its power is denied. Focusing on the mental and physical attributes of a group. The prototype of biological inferiority is a disability. It's a matter of understanding the work done by disability and oppressive systems. The disability, oppression, and physical and mental properties of the body are socially constructed, disqualifying defects. But this specific type of social construction has to be integral to the present moment. The symbolic requirements of oppression in general. Every oppressive system of our day, the oppressed identity is represented in some way as disabled. Prejudice against disability remains in full force, providing seemingly critical reasons for the belief in human inferiority and oppressive systems built upon it. And legalization continues to signal that marijuana is a criminal act, means safe access to drugs nearly impossible. That's Red Scan 13. Legalization does not necessarily translate into universal acceptance or adoption. Many users report experiencing considerable stigma from family, friends, health care providers, and law enforcement, and experiencing guilt or discomfort related to the use of something illicit. The administration of these two medications differs from that of recreational use, often done via marijuana cigarettes or water pipes. This raises the question of whether some of the stigma with medical marijuana use could be mitigated if its administration appears more like traditional medicine and less like a recreational drug. Okay, that's fine.
So my first question is can you explain like the context of your marijuana labeling? Like, can you explain to me what it's actually saying?
Weed industry, right, tends to hypersexualize women in the same way that like the alcoholic beverage industry tends to do, right? Like they pin up women as objects in order to sell their material, and that's probably bad because it makes it so that women are not viewed as.
Can you tell me how does that link to the affirmative though?
Yeah, it links to the affirmative. One, because you try to do as biological reason.
Do we advocate the industrialization of marijuana then?
You advocate the legalization as per cross-examination. So yes.
Exactly. So you advocate for the legalization, and then not only that, but you have like this emphasis on like biological constructions of like what forms of organisms are good and what forms of organisms are bad. That's in like your plant as a line cross-examination.
Okay, that's not what that says, but I'll talk about some other stuff. So the Griffin and Rader evidence about how debate is highly gendered, how does following normative debate practices and spreading of feminism critique like?
We're not arguing that you should use normative debate practices. We're
not saying that spreading is bad. We're not saying that like reading fast is bad. That's obviously not our argument. Rather, we're saying that normative practices within the debate community, meaning like the exclusion of a personal experience, for example, is bad.
But like where do you draw the line on what you consider to be like a normative debate practice?
We
Like,
argue
where
that,
is the line on that?
well, I think that drawing a line is a problematic.
But I just mean like for the
But-
context of me being able to answer this argument, where like what are you trying to claim like fits the broad spectrum of norms? I guess
I mean,
I don't know debate norms.
I'm not gonna define what a norm is or isn't,
Okay,
because
that's
that's,
cool.
that's part of what we criticize.
On to the next card, the Alan Organolis 99 evidence. It talks about how academic articles in debate tend to have an expert voice and like it privileges discussion from expert perspectives. How does like the feminism impact and alternative evidence not do that?
Sure, the Simpson 95, you wanna take it?
I can take it.
The Simpson 95 evidence is very specific to the context of the affirmative, and then it talks about how what Nietzsche characterizes as the splendid blonde beast. But in any case, we argue that that's not us saying
Okay,
that.
but I'm saying, how do you resolve those issues? Like,
Sure. The Bjork 92 evidence is actually written by a former debater at the University of Utah, talking about her personal experience. with
okay, but like the Simpson 95 evidence, you just
talks about how
can you let me
dichotomies
ask
within.
a question because you're not answering what I wanted to. I can ask something else really quickly. So the Simpson 95 evidence, you talk about how he's like a scholar and stuff, and he goes on to cite Nietzsche. How is that not an expert academic?
We're not saying that expert academics in and of themselves are bad, we're saying that relying on them solely
Yeah,
and
we
only
just say
using
that
experts is bad.
you need to include subjective
through thinking like a plant, they have to prove how thinking like a plant, in particular via method of legalization, would cause the sexist culture they indicate would occur in the marijuana industry. Also, they say academic articles exclude the author's personal story, but don't let them get any leverage on the personal story argument. They don't even read anything, read any personal perspective. I don't think they just read a bunch of authors and pretend like it's a bunch of academic articles, which they say is bad. They also say it's the us-them dichotomy empirically leads to genocide, but we break down the ultimate us-them dichotomy by becoming planned. This was our Milton 12 evidence exposing the formerly invisible forms of oppression, and it also helps recreate our relationships with as human to nature as well, which means that we can solve back for these relation problems they have. They also say to reject masculine underpinnings of the one see from do both, and make them explain what aspects of the alpha masculine, at the point where we say we should start with plants because they are the most open being, not able to like subject any other form of existence to domination. That's a good thing. That make them prove how we, particularly by this discussion of plants, start the discussion of domination, or in any way could lead to that towards women. Also, they say also arguments for social change are historically rooted in anthropocentric frameworks, not the animality of humans. Even with radical theories, the fusion between humans and nature never goes on question making. Goes on question making a valuable understanding of human violence impossible. Bell and Russell UK. Disrupting social scripts and structural and legitimize the human domination of non-human nature's fundamental mind, only with dealing with environmental issues, but also exhibiting challenging principles of social ranges, export of questions of race, gender, class, sexuality, is received with little non-human systems, links between human oppression and the domination of nature. Non-human beings are shrouded in silence, and the silence characterizes even the work of writers who call for rethinking and one and see failure to attend to our relationships, debaters, judges, and coaches beyond the human sphere, make them a part of the educational practice that sustains the democratic ordering in the world despite the empowerment offered by the negative. Bell and Russell 2K. Purity critical pedagogy have been limited by the neglect of ecological context, which students are a part of relationships extending beyond the human sphere. Our inability to account for human benefits in nature as a result of failure to understand what sustains us. We become intended to our real dependence on others. Our actions affect them. Educators will draw on literature, environmental problem, to become grips with misguided sense of independence from on freedom from nature that forms as empowerment. The societal narratives that legitimize domination like nature, racism, sexism, class matters, sexism, merit. Everyone's concerns with the ecological crisis trends, especially those marginalized and vulnerable proponents of critical pedagogy need to come to terms with the human-centered framework. Anthropocentric assumptions will need to be revisited, and we as humans have a place in binary and a place of binary between us and nature. Though the entire world is conscious, these power relations are uniquely bad because of human actions towards not only us but nature as well. Fox and Brooklyn Day. Most of us are accustomed to thinking the world is not given the Venus, but this amidst the sun dimensions of the world, the organic and inorganic ingredients, all the animals, all the ecosystem place in the world are very conscious are separate from only artificially. The world is probably one balance of the space continuum in place. Each testing it for pragmatic symbolic and intellectual purposes of the microscope has surgically demonstrated such shortage of decision maybe conceptual level reinforces social and political level way either any of the case expresses power relationships down the group. Term 2 is whose in and whose out goes or reservations are created in the same dynamic and animal how to create disease lab for effective funds from circuses and hunting and fishing and other forms of find separation. We all have all security natural history machines which animals are safe but dead and statically displayed also. Yeah. So at this point, we're winning the root cause of these forms of repression is probably starting with our domination of nature, which means that only a question of the existential nature of human beings. Well, starting with the one I see is which all break down all these forms of violence. Also, some pollen evidence. We need to forget about our previous relationship with marijuana and the marijuana industry because those aren't going to be how it's going to be before after we take on the plant's perspective and consume the fruit of cannabis allows us to revert back to our natural relationships with the world. This is the pollen 2 evidence, and also the Milstein evidence that talks about how starting with nature is key to break down nature and culture binaries. This also something visible this out of there. That they gain the link to ableism off of it. Also say, oh yeah, plants are also always becoming, so there's always chances to incorporate new modes of being into them because they're ultimately infinite. They never answer this question. Means that there's only a question that about engaging us in the discussion of ableism means that we can follow it back, and also thinking the animal is what's dominating Western culture right now, and all of their evidence is written in the context of thinking the animal. They need to take on the context of thinking the plant, which is the ego reversal that the law talks about, where we need to move away from egocentric development and have a more appropriate ecological relationship relationship, which looks like not having an instrumental relationship, using them only as resources, which obviously the negatives fail to come to terms with because of the point where they only garner links, assuming that we talk about marijuana, assuming its industrialization is probably bad, meaning they don't think about our relationship to the plant as just something that we should respect the plant for. That probably means the absol's better. Also, they say that we ignore ableism, but speciesism is the root cause of ableism and transphobia. Is Police 13. Racism, speculating on speciesism, the spectrum of speciesism is always already inscribed in categorical naming the racialized other. Its power originally specified the history of permutation, described the combinatory possibilities that come from all other descriptive constituted epistemic and physical violence, including racial, gender, sexualized speciesism, position to enslaved African American woman and animal nature, and her eloquent testimonial and transphobic violence. She has had to endure transgender subjects strike, articulate the effects of virtual brilliant transphobia like a monster and often to be perceived as less than human due to the means of embodiment like monsters is my exclusion from the human community feels deep and abiding rage in me. I like the monster direct against the conditions which I must struggle from you humans take being called creatures results from the term poses to your status of lords of creation. I find no shame in however acknowledging my egalitarian relationship with non-human material being. Everything emerges from the same mixture of possibilities. The intersection of species and citizenship has, for example, described the number of other key identity categories, including sexuality and disability. The eugenic destruction of people with disabilities as embodying degenerate species that need to be confined, sterilized, or finally, as not to Germany, exterminated the political mobilization of animalism and mental disability, the destruction of the wolf children, the feral children, subjects deny the sense of humans, people with disabilities in the U.S. were denied the preservation of public institutions and privileges. We are also dealing with the root cause question about ableism. Anthropocentrism is the root cause of all these forms of exclusion, and that only starting with nature is key. That was the mostly evidence. They also say that legalization continues the stigma of marijuana, but they don't. This evidence doesn't take into account the Foucault or the Nietzsche argument about forgetting we forget our relationship with marijuana. Also, they still continue. They say that legalization continues the stigma, but also doesn't assume that we're legalizing it from the plant's perspective. They don't ever take into account that thinking about things from the plant's perspective actually provides us with the best way to break down any oppressive structures that are left in society. Because at the point where at the point where we view plants as purely instrumental, and that teaches us that our relationship towards other living beings can also be just purely instrumental, making them virtually disposable. This is the genocide arguments that we're talking about on the other critique, but this is just an evaluation of how we get there first by giving moral consideration to things that are usually considered lesser as plants are or have previously been, and by forgetting that they have been considered lesser and giving them this moral consideration, we can break down these oppressive structures where the historically marginalized groups that are usually pushed to the margins of society or the margins of activities or institutions can now become the locus of discussion, because we start from a completely neutral point of being in which there's the ultimate possibilities for becoming from there. And at the point where none of their evidence even indicates a thinking like anything other than specifically consumption-oriented human being, then it probably means that the app is a better answer to the last question.
Let's talk about forgetting a little bit more. So forgetting, as I understand it, is rooted in Zupanchik's theories when she talks about how we should forget our trauma of the past. How exactly do I forget my trauma?
I mean, the argument we're making is dating back to the 1800s when Nietzsche was making this argument in the context of plants. He isn't necessarily talking about other forgetting your other forms of oppression. He's particularly talking about how in this situation
So what you're saying is Nietzsche doesn't take into account that people can't shed their identity?
That's not what I said, but I mean, if you want to put words in my mouth, you can go ahead and do that. We'll just answer to the line.
Sure. I'm still not quite sure how I'm supposed to forget my own trauma and think like a plant.
The forgetting is contextualized to discussions of plants. We need to forget things that aren't related specifically to the discussion of us and nature, because that's ultimately what causes oppressions to be able to occur, is that other issues
So
become
so long as I
the
forget
focus
the way
point.
that I've been abused, then I should be
No,
able to
that's-
resolve it.
that's
That's what it
100%.
sounds like you're saying to me. How is that
It's
not
talking
that?
about unless you've been specifically abused by a plant or had a negative experience with a plant, then it probably would not apply to forgetting your abused experience.
Sure, but you're saying we should forget all experience except for that, what we've had in
We didn't
relationships
say
with plants.
forget
How do I do
all
that?
experience, we just said forget the relationship that was previously had with plants. It's in
Between
the
that
context
issue
between,
and plants.
yeah.
Okay, so we need to forget our previous relationships to plants in order to solve anthro, I assume.
Well, essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. Let's see. You say that plants are always changing and always becoming. What does it mean to become?
Well, basically, the notion of becoming our Patio evidence is talking about is the Deleuze-Guattari definition of becoming, which is basically just means to have a connection, a natural connection with another being via.
How do I have a natural connection with another being if they have traumatized me?
Plants that traumatize you?
Any being. It seems like your cards are not, that specific card is not necessarily in the context of plants. Like, how do I do that?
You have a becoming of something when you have an interaction with that.
So I
thing
should have
that-
to interact with my attacker.
No, you
That's
basically
not-
it wants you to adopt the perspective of what somebody else might be seeing, and whether or
Does
not that
that
means
include?
whether or not that
Well,
means
this-
getting to their physical position and looking like all fours down on a dog, becoming dog would be like, that would be an example of it, getting down on all fours and playing, or just sitting and simply thinking like, what is this dog
What does
thinking?
that do?
Or-
And that-
But
What
it
does that do?
reevaluates our perspective on how we relate to.
So sitting down
If
and
we can
reevaluate my perspective,
can
why haven't we
understand-
solved for this if I've
If
not
we
been
can
on
understand the
all
way
fours?
that the marijuana plant takes us over and uses our body to explore the world and gain our perspective, then it
Alright.
reevaluates our stance on it.
Okay. Can you try to flash me the light screen? Oh, shoot. I would say flash. I just want to see the very first part. Okay, one second.
have 352, or 552 rather. Do y'all have our flash drive?
I don't believe so.
Oh, never mind, I got it. Let's see.
Do you save the videos of the rounds by chance?
So I'm trying to figure out how to live stream. That's what I've been doing. I think I have it. I'm not certain if I've gotten it to YouTube and record it. That's been a harder part of figuring this out. But that is my goal.
Awesome. That's good.
Okay, it should be 2NC round 1. I might have saved it as round 2. Either way, it's 2NC. The order is the K. Just let me know when y'all are ready.